So recently in my work, I've been opting to go towards much more natural looking transitions that I'm building myself in camera versus a lot of editing techniques and VFX that you see in a lot of videos these days. And this is just naturally happening as I'm slowly transitioning away from my role as a videographer and social media content creator and more into a filmmaker slash DP style role in terms of creating narrative and long form work in the sports world, which is where I see my career going in the next few years. And today I wanted to share with you guys not just my favorite style of transition, which are these motion blur transition clips that you're seeing on screen right now, but also how you can create them yourself with your camera today. They take less than 5 minutes to do in camera. And this is something I've gotten into the habit of making every single time I'm out shooting, whether I'm on set, whether I'm at a sports game, at an event, or even just walking around casually with my camera. These are super easy to make and offer a really organic and really eye-catching way to transition your clips whenever you need a transition in your edit at any point. Now, these transitions can really be used whenever, but there are two main scenarios I really enjoy using these in. Number one, when I'm transitioning a viewer from location to location. And number two, when I'm really trying to ramp up the ante and the energy in my edits. Say you're starting off a video with an athlete getting ready to go on a run or getting ready to perform on, on the field or on the court. Going from those slower moments, throwing one of these transitions in right into the action is a really easy and effective way to go from slow paced action to really high octane visuals in a really quick split second while keeping it very natural for the viewer instead of just doing a hard cut from clip A to clip B. Obviously today is all about showing you guys how to make these transitions, but if you guys want to skip all that and just get straight to using these in your edits and your video projects right now, you guys can actually go purchase this. It is live on my digital storefront as of right now using the link in the description below, and you guys can use 10 plus different transitions that I've made over the last few months, spanning a ton of different scenarios, like shooting these in hockey rinks on set. I've shot these at football games, soccer games. I've even shot these at a racetrack. So a ton of different scenarios for whatever use you're using these in your video edits. Now, if you end up purchasing these, thank you so much. First of all, from the bottom of my heart, it does not go unnoticed when people support my channel directly. I really appreciate it. But if you don't have the money or you just don't want to purchase them, I totally understand. There's zero pressure here, which is exactly why we're going to get into exactly how I make these using my camera and a long lens and how you can pretty much make these anywhere you're shooting at any point in time. Now, there's only really two pieces of gear you need for this effect to create it in camera, and that is your actual camera body and a long lens. In this case, I'm using my Sony a7S III, and the lens I'm using is a 70-200. Now, the lens is the most important part here. In theory, you can do this with any lens, but the best results you're gonna get is with a telephoto lens like a 70-200 or a 200-600 or anything like that because of the compression that the telephoto lenses offer. You can get away with it with a 24-70 if you zoom all the way to 70 millimeters and even more if you use like clear image zoom. But for me, I've always found the best results come from using my 70-200 zoomed all the way to 200 because of the compression and how much the movement itself is exaggerated when you're zoomed into the max focal length. Settings wise, what I like to use for these, I shoot these all at 24 frames per second at a 1/50 shutter to adhere to the 180-degree shutter rule. That's just what gives me the best motion blur and what looks best to me, but you can definitely mess around with your shutter speed specifically. I've done it before where if I want like a bit of a stutter or a step print style effect with the movement, where I'll go to like a 1/8 or a 1/16 depending on the situation, but you can really just do whatever feels best and looks best to you. For me, it's always been 24 frames per second at a 1/50 shutter speed. That gives me the best results. Once you have your settings dialed in, it's really easy from that point. All you're gonna do is zoom into the max focal length of your lens, which in this case, I'm zooming up to 200. You're gonna hit record, and then you're gonna wave around your camera and you're gonna look a little bit like an idiot, but that's beyond the point. This is what it looks like, and this is how easy it is to actually create these transitions. I told you it's gonna look a little weird, but it literally is as easy as this. Whipping your camera around left to right, up, down, diagonal, circular, whatever you kind of want to do. Now, when it comes to how to move your camera, there's no exact science to this. Everyone is a little different. I literally will just do a couple horizontal sweeps of my environment. I might do some vertical up and down. I might move my camera in circles. Like, it really depends on how funky and freaky you want to get with the movement in your camera. It is really up to you for how long you whip it around, for how fast you whip it around. The speed actually can change in post, but other than that, it's kind of to your heart's desire as to how crazy you want to get with the movement in camera. The one thing I will say about shooting these in order to make them work within your footage is to make sure that the images within your camera, even though you're not seeing them because they're just whipping by in a blur, are contextually relevant to wherever you're shooting or the content that you're creating right now. So what I mean by that is if you're at a football game, don't just whip the camera around to the parking lot, do that in the arena. Make sure you get flashes of the crowd in there. Make sure maybe you get the lines on the field, get some of the players and the action in it as well if you want. There's so many different ways where you can add the textures and the colors of your location in order to make the transition not stick out and be more contextually relevant to the footage and the edit that it's held within. The other way you can make these look a little bit better is being aware of the light and the dark parts of your environment and whipping between the two of them. If you have too much white or too much, black or dark areas in your clip, it won't look as good. So going from the brightest part of your location to the darkest part to another bright part, or, dark, bright, dark, depending on where you are, can also make a really big difference in the contrast and the color and the light that's coming in through the blur that you're seeing in your transition, which just makes for a better clip and a better transition overall, in my opinion. If you want to get even funkier, like I mentioned before, mess around with your shutter speed as well. You can bring your shutter speed down to like a 1/8, 1/5. 1/8 is the sweet spot for me whenever I do that. And it gives this kind of stuttery look when you're whipping your camera around, which also looks really cool and can be used as a transition. Just keep in mind though, you may need to either have an ND filter on your lens, or you may need to step up your aperture to make sure you're keeping your exposure consistent throughout your clip. Now, if you thought these were easy to shoot, they are even easier to edit. All you have to do in order to make these work in your edit is find the two clips you want to transition between, put your transitional footage on top of it, and what I like to do is to speed it up 150 to 250%, and you're pretty much done there. But that's pretty much how you make and use these in your edit. They're really easy to do, they're really eye-catching, but also subtle enough that they don't really take your viewer out of the edit, which is why I love using these in my videos. Now, in order to make sure these fit even better within your edit, whether you are shooting these transitions on your own or you're buying the ones that I'm providing, you have to make sure that you are also editing the colors of these transitions to match the rest of your footage. The 5 to 10 minutes it takes for you to adjust your transition when it comes to the color temperature, the tint, the saturation, the hues of your colors, or even the contrast can make a really big difference on how well this fits in your edit. And those small little details will go a long way for the quality of your video, in my experience. And it really doesn't have to be that crazy of a color grade. Literally, if your footage is looking a little warmer than the transition, all you have to do is take your temperature slider and move it towards orange. Or if your footage is looking a little bit more pink compared to the transition, all you have to do is take your tint slider and move it towards the magenta side. It really is that easy, and those small changes make all the difference. And that is the gist on how I make these transitional motion blur clips. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something. Just know the more you do this, the more of a habit you make it to shoot these while you're out and about. You will start building a very large collection of these that you may not even need to shoot them at all anymore. Anytime I know that I'm shooting a hockey game and I need a clip to transition between A and B, I know on my desktop I have a folder full of like 3 to 4 different hockey related motion blur clips that I can apply at any time that fit perfectly in my footage. So just make this a habit, and you're going to find you're going to be using these a lot more in the future, more efficiently and more effectively as you go along in your journey. Anyways, that does it for me in this video. I hope you guys have fun using these transitions, making them on your own. They are super, super easy to make, even easier to use. And also, like I said before, if you do want to buy the ones I'm using, they are for sale on my digital storefront. The link is in the description. And if you buy these, I am so, so appreciative. And if not, that's totally okay. I hope you guys have fun making these and using them in your videos. If you guys have any questions about anything you may have learned in this video, leave me them in the comments down below. Consider liking and subscribing the video as well, because that also helps me and the channel grow a ton, and I really, really appreciate the support. And that does it for me in this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.